Most people don't realize that we do control our future and we create it in every way. And the person you are today is not the person you will become tomorrow. You need to create that person. So the first thing is I just want to challenge you guys here by thinking about this. How powerful is visualization? And so I'm just going to use this as an example right now. And so you need to understand that it's so powerful that lives outside of our own are actually going to be impacted by the internal decision for us to follow our own personal vision. So none of you guys right now could even be on this call if I did not start a personal vision myself 10 years ago, including yourselves having your own vision that merged into the vision that I'm having with my own. That's why we're all here right now, okay? So I'm going to share you guys some stories today that will inspire you, hopefully freak you out a little bit. So quick recap of my story for those of you a little bit newer and don't know me. I played sports pretty aggressively through my childhood days all the way up into high school. I was an athlete at Plano West High School. We were in the Wolves. That's where the Wolfpack brand came from. Sports, we always had the mentality that's run together as a pack, not as a lone wolf. And I just kind of adopted that and brought that into the business world as we started building teams. My sports career ended, and as I went off to college, and this kind of created a void for me. And some of you guys that played sports a lot understand this, where you were in team sports and all of a sudden it stopped, and it was a big part of your life. And I think that's kind of why I found poker. Now, if you guys were very competitive, I think about trying to find a hobby that has some type of competition to it. It's going to fulfill you a little bit more. And so I think that's why I gravitated to poker. For one, the money, two, the excitement, three, just the competition of it. And I did that professionally from 2003 to 2011 until the online poker site shut down. So you guys know the story. Government regulation kicked in. I lost my career overnight, and I made some bad decisions. I gambled off all my money, tucked tail, moved home with my parents. And for 2 years, I blamed the world, blamed everything I could. And I fell into a deep, dark depression, 100K in debt. And at this bottom point in my life, what happened was I came across Napoleon Hill and his Principles of Success, his book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'd already kind of dabbled with this process, but I never took it serious, looking at the law of attraction and reading and watching the movie The Secret, things like that. But this is really, once I read Think and Grow Rich and really kind of conceptualized it, I said, I'm going to commit to this and I'm going to really intentfully do this. And so this is kind of what changed my life trajectory. Like if you look at like a stock market crashing and then coming back, this is kind of what I did. So the first thing I did, lose you guys there? That was weird. So first thing I did was I pulled out a pen and paper and I decided actually what I wanted to become in the future. So I thought about this, and it wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to think about this throughout my day. Like I took days to do this. I literally secluded myself in a room and I said, I get this one life. If I'm going to have the perfect life that I ever wanted to have, why not design it and why not become it? And so I started thinking about physically who I wanted to be and who I wanted to look like. Also who I wanted to be with as far as relationship. I started thinking mentally, who do I want to be? How do I want to think? How do I want to view the world? How intelligent do I want to be? How mentally tough can I be? Financially, my faith goals, relationships, material wants, the cars, the trophies, the awards, the impact I want to make in this world. So what I did was, in my mind, I constructed the person I wanted to be and become and the outcome of the future I wanted to have until I defined it well enough I could actually visualize the person I wanted to be and see it in my mind. Then I created a vision room. So just to show you guys, I do this all the time. I got this vision board right here. I've been doing vision boards for over a decade, and I'm going to walk you through this one right here real quick. But I used to actually have a giant vision wall or vision room. And what I did was, in the beginning, one of the things I realized was a lot of my problems I had convinced myself were coming from not having money. So I said, well, if I had a bunch of money, then all my problems are going to go away, right? That's not the truth, but that's what you believe at the time. So I said, I want to become wealthy. So what do you think if you want to become wealthy, what's the first thing you should do? I studied the wealthiest people in the world, JP Morgan Chase, Vanderbilt, Henry Ford, Rockefeller. I studied all these industrialists and I started looking back at their biographies, and I actually took their faces. I took screenshots, black and white recordings. Not recordings, black and white pictures. And I put them over my room, and it's this huge grid. So inside this room, I'm sitting in the middle of all these faces of these massively successful individuals that changed the world. And I had people like Bruce Lee on my wall and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And anytime I was feeling bad on myself or something was going on, I'd look over and there's Bruce Lee looking at me saying, be like water, or looking over at Schwarzenegger and saying, don't be a weenie boy, or whatever it is, right? So I'm keeping the projection of the people that I know were a normal person, just like I was, born in the same world that I was, but achieved something massive that I'd like to have. I started putting the cars and the houses, the physical representations of who I wanted to be with and the goals to be accomplished all over this room and all over the wall. And so you can see right here, this vision board right here. Now, one big problem was the starting point, okay? I was $100,000 in debt. I was working at Academy Sports and Outdoors at this time, stocking shelves at night. I was trying to figure out how to build my WordPress websites out while I was working all day building websites on my business. I was going stocking shelves at night. And this is the actual Academy Sports and Outdoors that I worked at, guys, that I tell the story at. So here I am now, a decade later, and it's fun to go there. But at the time, it was a horrific moment in my life. And this is what I want you guys to understand at the bottom. The dreams of champions come from the darkness we are gifted. And everything great from most of the people that I've met that have achieved massive success came from the darkest parts of their life when they were at rock bottom. And if you can't visualize the person you're going to become in the darkest days, then you can't become that person, because it's not like you're just going to start to have kind of average success and creep your way up. And now you can see yourself in a trajectory to get there. You need to come up with the vision of who you're going to be when it doesn't seem possible to actually become that person. And so at rock bottom, I started visualizing this. When I'm stocking shelves, I'm thinking about who I'm going to become. I'm not thinking about what I'm doing right now. I'm actually not even focusing on what I'm doing right now. I'm doing it as a fundamental, just stocking shelves. I'm thinking in the future. I'm not punishing myself from the past and the present, but I'm developing who I'm going to become. So the first thing is I realized I had to change my physical vitality. So this is why we do a lot of fitness challenges. So I was 70 pounds overweight. I was depressed. I hated how I looked. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. No girl would look at me. I couldn't get a girlfriend. My friends and family were ashamed of me. I was ashamed of myself. I was tired. I couldn't even work long enough to build a business if I wanted to. So I put this up here for one, just to show you guys that you can change your physical vitality if you choose to. But also, I see a lot of you young guys getting out there, and not judging, but I did this in college and high school. I did take steroids. I don't think you need to. This is me completely natural here. So I never took any steroids or testosterone replacement. Not that I won't future as I get older. I'm just saying you get one body, use it the best you can until you need to do those types of things. You don't need to put that stress on your body. But the first thing was I needed to change the energy level of my body that came from changing my body. And as I started changing my physical appearance, I started to respect myself more. And I had a stronger self-image. I started to believe I was stronger and better and could take on the world and could take on more. And as you change your physical appearance and become a position of strength, people want to come and gravitate towards you. And as I was reading Think and Grow Rich over and over and over, Napoleon Hill talks about visualizing a board or a group of mentors to follow and having conversations with them in your mind. Okay. So what would happen was I would go to sleep every night visualizing sitting at a table with all these great men that I was listening to: Napoleon Hill, Earl Nightingale, Jim Rohn. And then my real mentors, I mixed in actual people that I was following in this world, meaning they're all in this world, but a lot of those people I mentioned are passed away already. I started adding people like Jim Ingersoll and Walter Woodford. Now, this is a true story. So I was $100,000 in debt. I couldn't pay for any education anymore. Part of the way I went into debt was I put up $35,000 to go through one of those stage selling gurus, and they pretty much ripped me off. And what happened was the only thing I was left to do to learn was to go to local REI clubs for free, was to watch YouTube videos for free, and to try to find a local mentor. So I was doing everything I could. I was watching free content. I was going to free local events, but I knew I needed a direct mentor to help me. And what happened was I was going to, so Jim Ingersoll is somebody I looked up to. He's one of the top investors in the industry. And I went to a local REI club here in Dallas. And now take into consideration in my mind, when I'm laying in my bed, I'm having conversations with Jim Ingersoll about, business and how, we're working together and how we're going to be partners and how we have a relationship. So I went to a club, I signed up to the email list. And what happened was I got sent, this is where I learned about affiliate marketing. I got sent a pitch for what's called Rehab Valuator. It's like a $97 auto calculation spreadsheet thing that you can calculate wholesale deals on. And I bought that, and I got upsold again to something else. And then I got upsold to what's called the Bank Elimination Blueprint, which is BEB, which is Jim Ingersoll's home study course. It was like a $600 home study course. And I didn't have the money to get it at the time, but the whole program was on how to buy rental properties without using the bank. And the problem was I wanted to start buying cash flow properties, but I wasn't financeable. So this was really attractive to me at the time. And then as I was watching the sales webinar, he was telling stories about just normal people just like you and me, just walking down the street, not all these people on stage with flashy suits and all this type of stuff selling. And it really resonated with me. And you're going to have moments in life, guys, where you have this intuition come from an external source where you need to act on this, because I didn't have the money, but I did it anyways. And I bought that course. Now, as I went through that course, I learned a few things that helped me do a couple deals. And I was really struggling at this moment, and it was a really dark time. And I was just very grateful for Jim that he put this course together, because he didn't have to. I mean, obviously it's a business for him. And I sent him an email. One night, it was like late at night, I wrote him this long email, and I just want to say, Jim, I'm grateful for everything you've done in creating this course. And I kind of told him a little bit about my story. And the first thing I know, I get a message from Jim saying, this is an incredible story. I want to fly you up to our event. So you can see that picture down there. That's me in like the bottom left corner and that like maroon shirt. And so what happened was he flew me up there. This is, I guess, in maybe 2015 or something like that. And he put me on stage to tell my story. And at that event was Walter Wooford. And if you guys know who Walter Wooford is, he's partners with Quincy Long, Quest Trust Company, one of the largest IRA custodians in the country. And they ran what's called the Financial Friends Network, which is a really big networking event where you have a bunch of high net worth individuals that are investors travel on cruises. And so instead of going to like a hotel for a conference, what they do is they rent out giant cruise ships, which we can talk about doing a Wolfpack cruise if you guys want. And I went to that event, or I saw my story on stage here, and that put me in front of a lot of these big names. They started having me speak at their events. And that's what kind of started my career off as I started speaking on stages. This helped my social media followings take off. And this was really a big jump starting in my career. But all this started because I was visualizing a relationship with Jim Ingersoll, who's now one of my best friends. And I actually, when I go to Virginia, which I'm actually going up there the 9th through 11th to speak at an event, sometimes when I go up there, I actually go to church on the weekends with Jim and his wife, just to give you an idea how someone that lived completely across the world, who had no reason to even talk to someone who's stocking shelves at the bottom of the floor, at the bottom of the world, who should never even have a relationship with them, can now be closely connected just because of the thought process that I knew that this could happen. I visualized it happening. So this is a true story. And then the relationships that they connected me to led to me getting to pretty much where I am today. Okay.